Hi, this is Dr. Deborah, the Menopause Whisperer. I am so glad you're here for this video that is on strong, steady, and supported. Now, you probably say, well, what does that all mean? I want you to know you need to reclaim your strength and energy through menopause. So often, women say to me, you know what? I am tired. I don't feel like I can do anything anymore. But I want you to know this is just a change. And I want you to rethink it and know that you can renew your body and your strength. Now, let's think about what are some of the ways that this can be done. Now, the fact that during this stage, hormone shifts are occurring. Knowledge is important. And once you know the hormones are impacting your bones, and that's why they keep asking you, have you fell in the last year? Because your bones become more brittle. Your metabolism, people say, oh, I've been gaining weight. And then they say, I'm fatigued. But we want you to understand with this transition, these are the solutions that go along with it. Okay? Let's keep going. I thought it was important to each week talk about this transition, but also this is renewal in a way that we can see step by step. Well, the first week had to do with building our bones, becoming strong foundation. The next one is about the metabolism change. Oftentimes think, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But let's look of how our lifestyle can make a change in our metabolism. Um, Having energy, being mobile, the different opportunities we have to have movement. And at the very end, we take all of these various components, pull them together, and develop our plan. I say your blueprint. Okay, let's start off first of all with foundation. Our bones, our strength, it comes together. Yes, there's the decline of estrogen. Yes, there's a loss of bones, but there's a way to protect it and rebuild it. Let's also say, with that, you say, well, what can I do? Well, first of all, it's the nutrition. What are you taking into your body? We're also talking about not only that, but vitamin D, the being out in the sun, and also movement, critical components that oftentimes no one talks about this. And I go this way, you're not giving people the tools they need to move on. So let's think about this. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Let's look at little small increments of what you can do daily. Let's think about our meals. Can we add green vegetables to our meals? How about maybe going outside for 10 to 15 minutes? You're at work, you've been inside all day. Go outside, walk around the corner, or move with purpose, like stretching or dancing in the kitchen while you're cooking, or just walking the dog. Now, with that, let's look at the metabolism in menopause. Yes, once we understand that we get past, oh, I'm getting fat, to that my metabolism has shifted and what things I could do to help build that, then we feel empowered. And the main thing is developing our muscles. Like I usually talk about that back in the day. Let's look at what ways we can build our muscles and then think about focusing on being strong in the midst of it. And we talked earlier about it is important to be strong. Let's give some daily lifestyle tips here. Nutrition, we talked again about the different foods we should be eating. We green vegetables, but what about protein? A recommendation would be said, okay, let's look at what we eat and how many grams of protein there. A lot of times it's recommended to maybe for breakfast have 25 grams of protein. Staying hydrated. Look at doing strength training. A lot of times we think about that, but with strength training, we're talking building those muscles. Now, week 3, we talked about energizing and mobilizing movement. Movement is our greatest medicine. When we move, we don't just change our body, it's a whole process of renewing ourselves. Let's think about some actions we can take to do that. I say a 7-day energize plan, weekly movement plan. Talk about what you're going to have a plan for what we eat, but also a movement plan. And I will say to you, if it's not fun, if it's not motivating, let's look at something else. Now, sometimes people say, well, I do cardios, but I want you to think about strength. We talked about that, but also flexibility. Even before you get out of bed in the morning, what things can we do to make us more flexible? And looking at tracking this and looking at noticing the change. I had developed a workbook for people to use to be able to do this. Okay, so let's look at the big picture here. Okay, how do we connect all aspects of our health? How do we say, okay, I'm looking at my bones, I'm looking at my nutrients, I'm looking at my movement, and how can it all work together? Sometimes we just isolate, put things in silos rather than saying, I am a total person, mind, body, and spirit. I'm more than just my hips, my bones. I have my arms. How can I work at everything together? And that's why we put together that um aspect of let's put together a plan. Let's look at the big picture. Now, here is this stronger for you blueprint. What we're gonna do with bone health, what we're going to do with our metabolism, what we're going to do with muscle strength, and also movement. I want you to start reflecting on some of the things we talked about in this video. Yes, give yourself uh, a progress report. Okay, now I started to think about this. Now, what's the next step? What am I intentionally going to do to make this change? Ask yourself, what action I am committed to doing this month? You might say, just for this month, I'm going to work on movement, or just for this month, I'm going to work on nutrients. And just for this week, I'm going to work on cardio. And maybe next week, I'll put in flexibility. I want you to remember this. I am building strength and vitality from inside out. Yes, and building strength and vitality from inside out. Also, I wanted you to know over the next month or so, starting in 2026, I'm looking at building a community, a sisterhood, uh, ways that we can talk about some of our concerns or look at um, various workshops. Not any long things, but just something that we can give you just a piece of information and you can run with it. So, what are the things we learned this month? Let me remind you, knowledge empowers, movement heals, and nourishment sustains, and connection to one another restores. Remember, strong, steady, and supported. Thank you for this journey of this month of information that can make us live this menopausal journey on purpose.